Welcome to the Comfortable in Chaos Podcast. Strangle your demons and let's go.
Y'all need Jesus!
Some folks whispered, some folks talked, but everybody looked the other way. And when time ran out, there was no one about on the Independence Day. Now I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong, but maybe it's the only way. Talk about your revolution. It's the Independence Day. Welcome to the Comfortable in Chaos Podcast. I am your host, Eric Hellberg, and you know we're like Einstein over here, men. We have no special talents. We're just passionately curious about all things pertaining to men. How in the hell did we get here? Where is it that we want to go on this special July 4th federal holiday Independence Day edition of the show? And I'm telling you what, normally I don't sing a song sung by a lady, but that Martina McBride song is pretty damn awesome. In fact, Sean Hannity, he used to lead in with his broadcast with Independence Day by Martina McBride. But that is what is wrong with us. And these guys were the precursors. What were they precursors of? Just simply dispensing common sense, right? Conservative talk, providing it across the mainstream, and not letting us rely solely on the liberal components at that time, which had been co-opted by our government, the media establishment at large. And you've heard me talk about Operation Mockingbird, how the government controls the press, etc., etc. So people like Rush Limbaugh, then you had Mark Levin and Sean Hannity. They started espousing things, but where they never went, even if they had the information, was why would we behave in that fashion? No one behaves in any form or fashion unless they are motivated and or driven to do so by something inside of themselves. You are just seeing the outward manifestation of that. And it is one thing to say, hey, I saw this, and it is wrong, I don't believe in it. But why are they doing it? Without that, you get nowhere. You're part of the cover-up, which they are, because they lack courage on this Independence Day, because to espouse the truth, whether or not they have done the work and or it has been provided to them, and or if they care to know, they are comfortable, they have their place of prominence, and they will do nothing to rock their own boat. Will you sacrifice? Just like the episode's name that I did many a moon ago. But if you continue on that song, Independence Day, if I could sing it, I damn sure would, and it would get us riled up over here. It said, let freedom ring, let the white dove sing, let the whole world know that today is a day of reckoning. Let the weak be strong, let the right be wrong. Roll the stone away, let the guilty pay. It's Independence Day. We want the guilty to pay. We want those who have said they are right to be wrong. And that is our right. And what was Independence Day? Does anyone even still know what Independence Day was? We don't have to get into the exact specifics because it may be too much to handle these days. But here is what Independence Day actually is. July 4th simply represents the same date in 1776, whereby the United States ratified the Declaration of Independence by the Second Continental Congress, thereby establishing our great country. and it is still great in a lot of respects, better known as the United States of America. And much like a birth, you will now have to custody that new boy or girl or this country. You will have to nurture them, help them grow into adulthood, continue to guide. It is a living, breathing, evolving entity, this country, and it needs to be shepherded accordingly. Why do you think I've been so hard on the church? Because they've let us down. They've abandoned us for their own self-gain and fortune. And they're going to say, oh my gosh, but there's separation of church and state in this country. No, there's not. Why do you still have "In God We Trust" on our currency, even though our currency is defunct and made up? Because it's no different right now than the damn church. It's just a graven image that means nothing, just like most people have no significance that go to church. They're powerless because they are living lives in sin. And I'm going to tell you, if you are not working just like the people did to afford us independence, you too are living in sin. Why? Because you were born here. You've been given great liberty, even though it has been curtailed in advantages, because you were born here. You have taken in some form or fashion from the blanket of this great nation. It has been laid upon you. Let's do something to make it better, to ensure it, to make sure it can be passed on in even a better fashion, most certainly than it is now, to our kids and grandkids. We owe it that much. Yes, you do owe this country something. Let's do something about it. And so, no, if the men who came here and founded this country were guided by the divine, then damn it, it needs to stay the divine. We need to become a Christian nation again. Let me just tell you what Adolf Hitler said. And they were a Christian nation. We will cast off the veneer of Christianity and create a religion unique to our people. Christian holidays were replaced with pagan rituals. So the official religion of the Nazis was simply paganism. And that's what we have done. Create a religion unique to our people. And we keep making our people more and more unique when they do not have to be. You want to go F another dude? Go do it in private. It's not unique to us. It may be unique to you. We're not catering to you, you mofo. And your pagan rituals in the place of Christianity, instead of on the National Day of Prayer, Joe Biden's got two dudes with their dicks in their hand? Give me a break. We're getting away from all of that nonsense. And let me just tell you this. If we still didn't have the sacred right, and yes, it is sacred, the ability to defend oneself from an oppressor, you wouldn't be off from work today. Oh yeah, if that Second Amendment was gone, you wouldn't be partying on your federal holiday. So be thankful for the right to bear arms and men that were willing to use them. Be thankful while you're sitting there drunk or whatever it is the hell that you're doing right now. Hopefully you're just chilling with your family from your workaholic week, or what all we have to do in order to make it in this land that has actually been turned against us. And the reason that this is such an imperative message today is, do you believe, and you've been watching the news, you're one of my listeners, you may be looking at alternative news sources. Great, good for you. Find out. Remember, go back to that behavior. It manifests itself for a reason. It is indicative of something else. So, oh yeah, baby, we want change. We're not talking change is gonna come. We know you gave us change, Barry. And on that note, do you realize, let's just be honest, we hated Obama. Just like these insurrectionists, and you heard the word I just used, insurrectionists, just like you guys hate Trump. But the reason we hated Obama is because we know that he hates America and still does to this day. You hate Trump because you also hate this country. There is the difference. And I'm going to tell you that this group, cabal of people that are all unelected right now, but that pull our governmental strings, that's every one of those motherfuckers at the federal level. Because they're not doing jack. They're trying to build up some momentum. Oh yeah, can we get some support without getting in trouble? But do you think that this group of sinister foes behind the scene that carefully cultivated a global pandemic under the guise of death to ensure your compliance and or to see where it may or may not go and or be accepted, and then stole the election of the United States, you think they did all that to simply lay down and go away? And then they marginalized that president before to try to render him ineffective so that things could not materialize, of which they had done. And he would have uncovered, I've talked about this many times. But then the real insurrection was the one that the Democratic Party and all of its globalist supporters staged on January 6th. They knew that what would happen? The American people were just going to sit there. They knew they had been robbed, but they knew that it was going to be looked at with impunity. We would have wanted to know the mechanism by which it was achieved, right? That was the behavior. How did it happen? Why did it happen? That's why Nancy Pelosi's own daughter has videoed her saying, I should have called in the National Guard. She should have known what was going on, but really she didn't know. She wasn't entirely privy. That is called compartmentalization. Why do you think you have never seen the abundance from probably 450 different security cameras at the minimum around the Capitol at every conceivable angle with acuteness and the ability to see everything right down to an individual's hand? Why would you have never been allowed to see that when this was such a demonstrative event in American history? The insurrection of January 6th. It was orchestrated by our own government. There were more federal agents in that crowd than you can imagine. Many of them wore coats. It's cold in Washington, D.C. that time of year in January. Many of them had MAGA hats on as well. Yeah, when you can wear long coats, you can conceal things that shoot CS gas. You can conceal things that shoot rubber bullets. And when you get there in a group of people en masse that are there to listen, to wonder, to peacefully say, what in the world has happened? How? Well, it's no different than where do we say the First Amendment falters? You are no longer, and you have never been allowed to yell fire in a crowded theater unless there is a fire. Because to do so when there is not a fire will cause mass panic, a stampede, and people will probably trample over one another in their attempts to escape. And if you open up entrances and have the police complicit and allow them entry, and you start a total chaos with your governmental doings by design, well, people are going to protect themselves. People are going to scramble. People are going to be moving in every which way imaginable. And you created the chaos so that we would not look into the underlying shenanigans of chaos of how we actually got to that point. You shifted the narrative again. And you have heard me say in previous episodes that change is war. Think about every time in your life, no matter if it's fitness, a business decision, in order to become better, you have to go to war with yourself. And these people are not going to lay down. It will take a spiritual, emotional, and physical toil and probably some type of extreme effort. And I am going to tell you this, since we have talked about the right to bear arms, and we have talked about their insurrection whereby our own federal government used weapons to fire rubber bullets within the crowd, not after all hell broke loose, but to get everyone stirred up, along with CS gas, that statistically you are more likely to be killed as a business partner or an insider of Hillary Clinton's than you are by an AR-15. Let that sink in. All we simply want in this country is a country that does the will of its citizenry. A government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Give us borders that we can count on. Give us language that we can count on, English, and our own culture back. No matter if it is homogenous of immigrants who have come in this country because they were needed, but they did so legally. Just like the beginnings of this nation. They came to make it better, not to take and or steal or become a mechanism of stealing from it. That is what we are looking for. We are tired of being kept in the dark. We are tired of being lied to. We are tired of cowards subjugating strong men, because we still are home of the courageous and of the brave. Give us a chance to do something without bringing your omnipresent force upon us, simply because we want to have our own sovereignty and not be involved at the expense of our own citizenry right here that you are supposed to take care of, to the betterment, supposedly, but really to the detriment of everyone else in the world and to the detriment of everyone here in the United States of America. We are tired of being dependent upon you. We want our independence, and we want you to stop trying to give independence to everyone else in the world, and under the guise of your dependence, destroying them. And in tomorrow's episode, I am going to tell a tale of two cities. And no, I am not Charles Dickens. But I am going to tell the story of two very good friends. And I'm going to tell you that the United States could be much more like Libya and much more like Colonel Muammar Gaddafi. You're going to be like, that's blasphemous, Eric! Well, Nelson Mandela isn't blasphemous, is he? He's been championed everywhere. Do you know how much that Washington and London oppressed Nelson Mandela until he forced his way into the spotlight? Did you know that Mandela, the great champion of freedom, celebrated, of course, after he got out of prison all over the United States? And you know, if Oprah says he's good, he's got to be good, right? that Mandela and Gaddafi were lifelong friends up until Gaddafi's death in the Arab Spring, which we facilitated in 2011, with Mandela then dying in 2013. You know how many photos are in the Washington Post, a liberal rag, of them walking hand in hand down streets in Africa? So if Mandela liked him, was Gaddafi truly bad? Well, you were told that he was. And we've been told a lot of things. We want our independence again. We want to have an effect on this great nation. And that is our goal. In conclusion, I want to tell you, for what remains of your 4th of July, Independence Day, I want you to have a kick-ass 4th. I want you to grab one of your loved ones and have an exchange of oxytocin, which requires a 20-second hug, no parting, no relinquishing of one another. Hold tightly for 20 seconds. Let the transfer occur. And let this be your foundational thought as we leave with a Joan Jett song, and she was badass. If the FBI will not investigate it, they're in on it. If the media will not report it, they're in on it. If Congress, your elected officials, because they've been subverted after they got in, they sold you out for themselves. If they won't talk about it, then they are in on it. Now you know what is going on. Yeah!